Hi, I'm Emily. I've always been good at understanding people, which is probably why I became a psychologist. I had my own practice and spent most of my time helping others with their problems. It's kind of funny considering what happened to me later. Anyway, as I was getting close to my late 40s, it hit me out of nowhere. I wanted to start a family. It's strange how that feeling creeps up on you. My best friend, Carol, must have sensed how I was feeling because she suggested setting me up with her second cousin. "Come on, Emily," she said, while we were having coffee one day. "He's a great guy, smart, funny, and he has a good job. What do you have to lose?" I sighed and stirred my latte, without much enthusiasm. "I don't know, Carol. Blind dates aren't really my thing." She rolled her eyes. "It's not a blind date if I show you his picture first. Plus, you two can chat online before meeting in person. It's the perfect setup." That's how I ended up sending Ryan a friend request on social media. To my surprise, we hit it off immediately. Ryan was 40, just a year older than me, and he seemed genuinely interested in everything I had to say. Our conversations flowed easily, with no awkward silences. We chatted for weeks before finally deciding to meet in person. I was incredibly nervous when the day came. My palms were sweating as I waited for him at the coffee shop we'd chosen for our first date. When Ryan walked in, I felt my breath catch. He was tall, had kind eyes, and a warm smile. He saw me right away and waved as he approached my table. "Emily," he asked, extending his hand. I smiled and nodded. "That's me. It's nice to finally meet you in person, Ryan." He sat down across from me, and just like that, my nerves disappeared. We talked for hours, completely losing track of time, until the barista gently reminded us that the shop was closing. As we walked outside into the cool evening, Ryan turned to me. "I had a great time, Emily. Would you like to do this again sometime?" I didn't even have to think about it. "I'd love to." From there, I fell head over heels into a relationship with Ryan. We started seeing each other regularly, going out for dinner, taking walks in the park, and even enjoying a few weekend getaways. But as our relationship grew, I started noticing something strange about Ryan. His phone was always buzzing with messages. At first, I didn't think much of it. We all have busy lives, right? But the constant buzzing was odd, even for someone with a lot of friends. One night, after a lovely dinner, as we lay in bed, his phone lit up for what felt like the 100th time that day. I couldn't stop myself. "Busy night, huh?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. Ryan glanced at his phone and gave a shy smile. "Oh, it's just my mom. She likes to check in." I raised an eyebrow. "Your mom? At this time?" He shrugged, looking a little uncomfortable. "Yeah, we're really close. She raised me alone after my dad died when I was 5. I had bad asthma as a kid, and she saved my life more than once." As Ryan opened up about his childhood, it became clear that his mom wasn't just devoted, she was his whole world. "Sounds like you two have a special bond," I said, choosing my words carefully. Ryan nodded eagerly. "We do. I owe her everything." As a psychologist, I could feel alarm bells going off in my mind. Their relationship seemed a bit too dependent, but I pushed those thoughts away. I wasn't his therapist. I was his girlfriend, and it wasn't my place to analyze it. Weeks turned into months, and soon we'd been dating for almost a year. Ryan was sweet, attentive, and our relationship felt strong, but that uneasy feeling about his connection with his mom never really went away. One day, while we were having lunch at my place, Ryan suddenly looked nervous. "Emily," he began, playing with his napkin, "I'd like you to meet my mom. I think you'll really like her. She's excited to meet you too." The next weekend, I found myself standing outside a small 2-story house, my palms sweating. Ryan squeezed my hand to calm me as he rang the doorbell. When the door opened, a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes smiled at us. "You must be Emily," she said, pulling me into an unexpected hug. "I'm Shirley. Come on in." As we settled into the living room, I couldn't help but notice how Shirley's eyes never left Ryan. She fussed over him, asking if he wanted a drink or a snack, while barely acknowledging me. I watched them, feeling like I was on the outside looking in. Shirley dominated the conversation, constantly bringing up stories from Ryan's childhood and worrying about his health. By the time we left, I felt exhausted, but Ryan seemed completely unaware of how awkward the whole visit had been. "So, what did you think?" he asked eagerly as we drove away. I hesitated, carefully picking my words. "Your mom really loves you," Ryan grinned. "She's great, isn't she? I knew you'd like her." I forced a smile, not wanting to ruin Ryan's happiness, but as we drove back to my place, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more going on than just a loving mother-son relationship. 5 months passed in a blur, and before I knew it, Ryan was down on one knee holding a sparkling ring. Despite my concerns about his relationship with Shirley, I said yes. I loved him, and I believed we could work through anything together. We decided to move in together into my apartment, but as we started planning the wedding, I quickly realized this wasn't going to be the fun, exciting experience I had imagined. Shirley was involved in every decision, every little detail. It wasn't just the wedding either. Shirley called all the time, always with some problem that needed Ryan's immediate attention. One evening, as we were discussing flower arrangements, Ryan's phone rang. He answered right away, his face filled with concern. "What's wrong, Mom?" he asked. "The sink's leaking," she replied. "I'll be right there." He hung up and turned to me, looking sorry. "I have to go help Mom. Her sink's leaking, and you know how she is with plumbers." This kind of thing happened almost every day. If it wasn't a leaking sink, it was a stubbed toe or a bad mood that only Ryan could fix. And if he hesitated, Shirley would say, "After all I've done for you, I just need a little help." Is that too much to ask? I couldn't take it anymore. One night, after Ryan came back from yet another emergency at Shirley's, I decided to bring it up. "Ryan," I said softly, "I think we should see a couples therapist. Maybe they can help us handle the situation with your mom. I feel like her demands are a bit too much." Ryan's voice got louder. "Too much? She raised me alone, Emily. She saved my life more than once. How can you call that too much?" I quickly tried to calm him down. "I'm not saying she doesn't love you. I'm just worried about how this is affecting our relationship." Ryan's expression softened a little. "Okay, maybe you're right, but can we do it after the wedding? We're so busy right now, and I don't want to add more stress." I knew I should have pushed harder and insisted on dealing with this before we got married, but I was so tired of fighting this invisible battle with Shirley. So, against my better judgment, I agreed. The weeks flew by, filled with cake tastings, dress fittings, and endless phone calls with Shirley. Before I knew it, the wedding was just a few days away. Even though it had been stressful, I was excited. My friends had planned a bachelorette party, and I couldn't wait for a fun night without wedding talk or Shirley drama. We hit our favorite bar, laughing and dancing, and for the first time in months, I felt free. I felt so free, finally able to relax without Shirley constantly watching over the wedding plans. But then my phone rang, and I saw Ryan's name on the screen. His voice was tight with panic. "Emily, Mom's in the hospital. Her blood pressure spiked. I'm heading there now." I quickly explained to my friends what was happening and called a taxi. The ride to the hospital felt like it took forever. My mind kept jumping to the worst possible outcomes. When I finally arrived, the moment Shirley saw me, her face crumpled, and she let out a dramatic moan. "Oh, it's you," she said, covering her face with her hands. "My blood pressure. It's her fault. All this wedding stress." I stood there, frozen, completely shocked by her accusation. "Shirley, I started, but she peeked through her fingers, glaring at me. I can't handle this right now, my poor heart." Ryan looked at me, his face apologetic but serious. "Emily, could you wait outside for a bit?" he asked gently. Stunned, I nodded and walked out, collapsing into a chair in the hallway. I sat there for what felt like hours, watching nurses and doctors rushing by. Finally, I stood up, determined to get some answers. I approached the nurse's station and tried to keep my professional tone. "Excuse me," I said to the doctor nearby. "I'm Emily, Shirley Johnson's future daughter-in-law. Could you tell me about her condition?" The doctor looked up, his face calm. "Mrs. Johnson's blood pressure is high, but not dangerously so. We're keeping an eye on her, but there's no immediate reason to worry." I let out a breath, thinking about what to say next. Doctor, I'm a psychologist and I'm concerned that Mrs. Johnson might be dealing with some mental health issues. Has anyone looked into that? The doctor raised his eyebrows, slightly surprised. That's an interesting point. We haven't done a mental health evaluation, but based on what you've said, it might be worth considering. I'll make a note to refer her for an assessment. I nodded, thankful for his understanding. Thank you, doctor. I appreciate your help. I went back to my seat in the hallway, waiting, hoping Ryan would come out soon. But as more time passed, I realized he wasn't coming out anytime soon. Feeling defeated, I sent him a text, heading home. Call me when you can. I called another taxi and returned to our apartment. My phone buzzed with messages from my friends, asking what happened. I quickly apologized and told them to enjoy the rest of the night without me. It was well past midnight when I heard the key in the door. Ryan walked in, looking completely worn out. Hey, he said softly. You're still up. I sat up, trying to hide my frustration. How's your mom? I asked. He sighed and sank into the armchair across from me. She's okay. They're keeping her overnight for observation. I stayed with Shirley until she finally fell asleep. She was so upset, Emily. She kept begging me not to leave her alone. I couldn't hold back anymore. Ryan, do you really think that's all there is to this? Don't you see what's happening? I asked. He looked at me, his eyes full of exhaustion. Emily, please, not tonight. Can we just go to bed? I'm really tired. I wanted to argue to make him understand, but seeing how worn out he looked, I knew it was pointless. So I nodded, pushing down my frustration. The big day finally arrived, and just before the ceremony, Ryan pulled me aside, taking a deep breath. Look, I know things have been tough with Mom lately, but I've made some arrangements to keep her happy today. I just need you to go along with it, please, he said. My heart sank. What kind of arrangements? Ryan quickly explained that Shirley had a special menu prepared, claiming she had allergies that didn't really exist. She would be seated next to him at the head table, not with the other parents. The DJ had a list of her favorite songs to play. Then, Ryan hesitated before adding, she also wants to make a speech. I closed my eyes, counting to 10 in my head before finally saying, okay, for you, for us. Ryan kissed me with gratitude, and I returned to my bridesmaids, forcing a smile. The ceremony itself was beautiful. As I walked down the aisle and saw Ryan's face light up, a wave of love washed over me, pushing aside all my doubts. For that moment, it was just the two of us. The reception was an experience, just like Ryan said. Shirley was front and center at our table, telling everyone stories about Ryan's childhood. She hardly noticed I was even there, except to occasionally pat my hand in a patronizing way. When it was time for the speeches, I watched in disbelief as Shirley wobbled up to the microphone holding a glass of wine. My dear friends and family, she began, her voice shaky, we're here to celebrate my only son's wedding day. She went on and on about Ryan's childhood, his achievements, and how much she had sacrificed for him. I was mentioned exactly once, as a quick afterthought. Finally, as she wrapped up, Shirley raised her glass. To my son and his wife. May they be as happy as Ryan and I have always been. I drained my champagne in one gulp. The rest of the night passed in a blur. We danced, we laughed, we cut the cake. But Shirley was always there, hovering, ready to insert herself into every moment. The wedding ended, but nothing changed in the weeks and months that followed. Shirley called every day, sometimes more than once. There was always a new crisis. We spent the next hour excitedly planning a tropical getaway, and for the first time in months, I felt hopeful. This was our chance to reconnect, to remember why we fell in love. I'd hand everything over to Ryan, promise the flights, the hotel, all of it, and when we got back, we'd deal with the situation with Mom. Maybe even look into that therapy. The day of our departure finally came, and I was full of excitement. As we drove to the airport, Ryan seemed a little distracted, but I figured it was just pre-flight nerves. When we got to the check-in counter, Ryan handed me my boarding pass. I glanced at it and then did a double take. Economy. I asked, confused. I thought we were flying together. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Yeah, about that. I had some credit card points, but it was only enough for one first-class ticket. Since I'm taller, I figured it made sense for me to take it. Plus, it saves us money. I stared at him, feeling hurt and confused. But it's our honeymoon. Couldn't we both just fly economy and sit together? I asked, trying to understand. Come on, Emily, he said, sounding slightly irritated. Don't make a big deal out of this. It's just a few hours. Swallowing my disappointment, I tried one more time. Okay, well, can I at least come to the first-class lounge with you? Maybe we could pay extra? No. Ryan cut me off quickly. The ticket's in my name, and they won't let you in. Look, I gotta go check in. I'll see you on the other side. Before I could respond, he was already walking away, wheeling his suitcase toward the first-class check-in. I stood there, feeling deflated. I made my way through security and headed to the regular boarding lounge. As I sat there, trying to hold on to some excitement for the trip, I noticed a familiar figure just outside the first-class lounge. I caught a glimpse of gray hair and a floral dress, something that looked exactly like what Shirley would wear. My heart started racing. Was I imagining things? Had the stress of the past few months made me paranoid? But then I thought about Ryan's strange behavior. His insistence on flying first class alone, his refusal to let me into the lounge. It all started to make a terrible kind of sense. Without thinking twice, I got up and walked to the first-class lounge desk. "Excuse me," I said, pulling out my credit card. "I'd like to buy access to the lounge, please." The attendant looked at me a bit skeptically but processed my payment. As she handed me the access card, I took a deep